everyone. Welcome to the Entrepreneurs Hangout podcast. This is actually season 4, episode 1. So I would love for you to meet my guest. And can you believe it? You get to be my first episode 1 of the new season. So Kyra, please tell everybody a little bit about your, first of all, your name is amazing. And I love that you were born in Germany. So I think let's just dig in and tell everybody a little bit about you.
Sure. Yeah. So you're referencing my name background. It's actually a Russian name. My father's Russian. He was born in China, grew up in Japan. We're a very international family. My father worked for the United Nations, so I grew up in New York. And my dad worked for the U.S. Information Agency, and that's why we were in Germany at the time where I was born. And then I grew up in New York. So I went to UC Santa Barbara, majored in political science, international relations. And I decided to work for educational nonprofits. And I worked in Washington, D.C. for a few years and did a lot of great work. I helped to write a book on the condition of school buildings in the country, which actually changed legislation throughout the United States. And it helped revitalize some of the schools.
First of all, kudos to you.
Thank you. I was just out of college. I just fell into this job and it worked out. It was with Educational Writers Association, made up of a nonprofit made up of education journalists throughout the country. So when the book was released that I helped do the research for, it hit the news basically. I was even in the car listening to NPR and I heard it on NPR. So it was super start. Yeah, it was a super start. But living in DC is a fabulous place, but you do have to have a higher education. And I felt like I really needed to go to a different location. So I moved near my sister in San Francisco. And I decided that, gosh, what's happening? The big thing that was going on in that area at the time was technology. So I did a huge pivot and decided to change from nonprofit organizations to working in technology industry. And the way that I did that is I subscribed to all these different online and news publications about technology and just read until I got familiar with a lot of the terminology. And then I did informational interviews with high-level people in technology and corporations. And, people love to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
So it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard to get employment.
People do love to talk about themselves. That's true.
Yeah. And then I helped out with a organization called International Association of Business Communicators. And I became their marketing coordinator for their international conference that happened to be in DC. So I went back to DC and I was talking to some people at a bar, just outside the conference. And one guy said, hey, I'm looking for somebody to be a regional sales manager in our company. We have this position to fill pretty quickly. And I said, hey, how about me? I'll give it a try. And
that's awesome.
I just stepped up and he was impressed. I even said that. So they flew me out to New York. I did an interview and got the job right away. And then that was kind of the beginning of my entree into technology and the whole world technology. And I just really love it. It's just really so fascinating. It's entirely dynamic. It's always changing. There's interesting people involved in it, very intelligent. It's just, it's a lot to keep up with too. So I was able to also become a reporter for CBS News in LA for technology. And then I wrote for their website as well.
Oh, cool.
So, and then I had my own company and I was a consultant to major corporations and school districts and government agencies. And I helped train hundreds of people on how to use the internet. And also help design networks for large school districts and things. So I just kind of kept going in that direction. And then I met my husband and life changes.
It does change. That's right.
When you have a partner and then you start having children. So we have 3 kids together and I just took some time away from that world.
That's awesome.
And so now I'm segued back. So I'm really excited that I'm now president of a company called Radcom and providing satellite communication technology to people all around the world.
That's awesome. We've got so much to talk about on the program and off the program. And so now, did you start then the Radcon? It's obviously you're the president, but did you start
Yeah.
it?
Yes.
That's awesome. How long ago?
About a year ago.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And just out of curiosity, how old are your kids?
So my youngest is 17. She's still in high school. And
Okay.
then my older sons, they're already away at living on their own, basically. And one's
Right.
23, another one's 25.
Okay. So, and the reason I ask that is because it's like, then it kind of gives our listeners the time period of like, hey, you were a very present mom. You had to put your, your career, your business on hold.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because I put in the show notes, like talking about how it is to be a female in the tech space. First of all, I just want to say like how cool it was when you were sitting there in the car listening to NPR and your book that you wrote was mentioned. How did that feel?
I mean, it was phenomenal. My jaw dropped. I
Did you
just
have
thought,
any clue
wow.
that it was going to really be? Did you have any clue?
Oh, I did not have a clue.
Oh
The
my gosh.
director of the nonprofit was very, calm about it all, didn't really tell people much about how it was going to be released. So I didn't know she was releasing at their annual conference, which
Wow.
was
Okay.
massive because that's where all the journalists were in the same room. And so when she released the book called Wolves of the Schoolhouse Door, which basically meant that, over 60% of the schools were in shoddy condition, was a terrible
Yeah.
statistic.
Mm,
And a lot of them were built with just temporary, temporary school
mm-hmm.
classrooms that
Structure.
really weren't meant to be there permanently, but ended up being there permanently. So, yeah, it was a great feeling that, we could make a difference, and
Mm-hmm.
and with some research and contacting people and compiling just a really simple, easy to read booklet, basically, was what it was. It wasn't like a thick book or anything, but it was
Uh-huh.
enough to kind of get all the information. It was it was life-changing for me for sure.
That's cool. That's
Mhm.
cool. And now you spend time in outside the Denver area, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. How'd you get to Denver?
So my husband is also an entrepreneur, and actually we work together all the time. And
Okay.
And so one of our other businesses that we had, which was in technology as well, our business partner decided to move to this area in the Denver area. And my husband and I thought, well, we should really be with him and near him. And we were ready to make a change. So
Okay.
it just worked out. That was about 10 years ago.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Well, that's awesome. That's a good time for it to grow. It was right before Denver really, really exploded.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I've been in and out and around Denver a lot, a lot. So that's such a beautiful area, though. So, Kira, how tell us a little bit more about like when you said, "All right, I think it's time for me to, focus on and I wanted to start my business." Tell like just a little bit about that transition from, "Hey, it's now time to kind of my kids are adult enough." That
Mhm,
I can put them just step back a little bit as the mom part of me, and I really
mhm.
want to focus on my business. Just tell us a little bit about that journey.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I really dedicated a lot of my focus to my kids. I
Mhm.
love them so much, but part of me was missing, as I got older. Part of me was like, who am I again? What's your identity?
Yeah.
Um, and it was a bit of a transition. I think the biggest one was when my daughter got her driver's permit. And I just thought, okay, the reins are definitely loosening here. And and COVID's over, because when COVID happened, all our kids were home again, you know.
Mm.
So there was before COVID, I was thinking, okay, it's time for me to reach out and do different things. And then COVID hit, and then they all came home. I'm like, oh gosh, and they were going through, mentally it was hard for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like I had to be there for them. So then after they went back to school, then they got their own jobs and things. And now my daughter's driving. And then my husband found this product that we really liked. And we decided to really go full board into it. I said, okay, I'm there. I want to be president of a company. I want to get more involved. I want to step back into this role. And once again, like do, online shows or, I wrote a book before called Enter the Internet. So I just want to kind of start to revamp that up and create, the identity. It's so important for us, I think, as individuals, especially as women, just like to do something that's productive, that you feel like you're making a difference. I just feel like that's super important.
It is. It is. So, okay, tell me a little bit about what the business is, how it is, and then I want to be able to ask you some questions on like, hey, how is it that you and your husband, you get along, and because you guys are both working together. So I'd like to talk a little bit about roles and just said like, how do you mix and mingle your career, your business, and your marriage?
Yeah. I mean, we've been together for about 28 years now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. And, I think we're just soulmates. When we first met, we just felt like this bell rung over our heads and said, ding, 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 you're just need to be together. You get well together. And, we've gone through our moments and our periods. And sometimes when we've started companies and they haven't worked, that's been super stressful and difficult. And they've happened because we've done different businesses together. I've done like part-time in the business and then part-time being mom. Now I'm full-time in the business right now. And I think we've kind of found a way to make it work. Like I love to do the marketing piece and he loves to do the operational and the more logistics. So I think we complement one another. And I think that really helps when you can find your way and also find out what makes them tick. Like I know if I say certain things, I might get him upset and defensive. So I stay away from that. Find other ways. I have to find other ways. I have to find other ways to kind of explain what I'm trying to say and state my opinion.
Yeah. It's like we pick your poison, It's like it's so true. It's so true, especially when you work. I don't work with my husband. He's aerospace defense, and there was a time where, like during COVID, we were in a tiny little 1-bedroom apartment waiting for our house to be able to build because we built our home. And I'm like, oh my God, please do not get furloughed because we will just like. I don't know how we would have functioned, so it was just he, myself, the dog, my dog at that time. And I'm like, it's 1-bedroom apartment. It would have been horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's tricky.
One thing I want to go back just for now, you actually touched on something that I think is really, really important for entrepreneurs to actually admit that you've had something that did not work, that's something that failed. A business that didn't make it. Just talk to me a little bit about that, Kyra.
Yeah, it's hard. You put your all into it. You super focus on it. And, maybe it just wasn't the right time for that service or product, or we didn't market it properly. I felt like we had to just keep polishing our ability to create a company. But then there's also ways that the companies don't work is because of others, that things in ways you don't expect. I'll give you a story of one. We had a debt defense company where we were making a lot of money every month. And then we hired an accountant to try to help out with managing the money and everything. But he stole a lot of the money. He moved the money into his personal accounts. And he bought cars, he bought art. I mean, it was awful. And this is money we had to also set aside for refunds or, for people, anything that would come up with the company. And so then we hired a lawyer, and then the lawyer stretched it out over like 3 years. And he said that he filed all these cases and lawsuits and all that, and he never did. And he actually forged judges' signatures.
Oh my gosh. Did they have a chance to talk to each other? You got two hoodlums.
We couldn't believe it. We thought, are they in cahoots or what? Or we just have bad luck, I'll never know, we'll never know. And the lawyer ended up going to jail because of what he did. So he's actually, I think, still in jail right now. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So our
So,
company folded because we couldn't maintain it. So we had
yeah.
to
Oh, yeah.
restart.
Right.
But that
You might
happens.
not be at a place. How long ago was that? How long ago was that?
That it happened, it was like 8 years ago.
Okay. Do you find that if you look at it now, you can say, I I guess I can see maybe how or why it happened, and maybe it wasn't such as a loss. You took it, you took the experience somehow or another, and you said, okay, but that now we're better because of it. We learned something because of it. We now are a little bit more financially stable because of it, or something like that. Can you find and identify those things?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, the main
yeah,
thing I said to my husband is like, you just have to be careful whoever you allow access to your money to, like
yeah.
the accountant had access to our money. And I think we learned a huge lesson in that is like, you can't allow just, even though they had the best credentials, great references and everything, you have
Hmm.
to be super careful on who
Right,
has access to your money.
right.
And that was a big lesson that we learned for sure. And also with the lawyer, there were some signs that were like, well, this doesn't sound right. The stories that he's saying, I think we learned that when your antenna's up and and your gut's telling you something's not
Yeah,
right, it usually is true. And that
that's
you
right.
should always pay attention to that
Yeah.
and make that your priority if your gut is telling you something.
It
So yeah, I
sometimes you
think we
get a
should.
little bit, yeah, yeah, yeah. But sometimes we want to believe. I think two things there. I would say lessons, which is perhaps maybe a lesson would be, hey, take on a new accountant for an example, but don't give them free will. Find out a stretch period. Maybe it's going to be a year from now or however it is. Where you've got some security put in place.
Mhm.
Where you could find out maybe there would have been something, as you said, your gut feeling might have said, wait a second here, he's doing something that's just not, I don't feel good about this. Like your attorney, But
Yeah.
sometimes it's just like professionals like that. You think, oh my gosh, come on, an attorney, a CPA, come on.
No, he went to Georgetown
Well,
Law.
they
He
were.
went to
That's
Berkeley
terrible.
undergrad. He worked for top law firms. I mean, we just were flabbergasted, but he claimed that he had a brain tumor.
God,
I don't know.
that's a good story. That actually might be the next story you write if you're going to write another book or something.
Yeah,
So
lessons learned the hard way.
I know. I always tell people because I mean, I know you've certainly met a lot of people. I have as well. When it's like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, everything I touch turns to gold. I've never had a loser. I've never done and all brag, brag, brag. I'm like, you know why people can say that? Because they haven't done enough. They have not done enough. Because if you do enough business, you're gonna have something that's not gonna go well. And I can say I have had businesses that did not go well, or I spent
Mhm.
25 years in commercial real estate. And I won't bore you with it, but I had a project that was just over it was not a good project for me to bring to the table, to the marriage, right? It was
Mhm.
something that was just not not a good fit, not a good fit. It just wasn't a good fit. But
Mhm.
still, hang on, something's, do you hear something in the background?
Nope.
Oh, okay, something's,
But failure is okay. It's fine to have failure. You know, Financially, it can be very difficult, but you have to always realize that, and I always look at that money is always out there in the world, right? Whenever I think of our companies, when we start a company, it's like you just have to create a funnel for that money to come in, right? And so it's like this formula of what's your funnel that's going to pull in money of something that people want or something that people need, or something people are attracted to. So that money is always available. It's always out there to pull in.
I've got, this is something, the weirdest thing, I know what it is. There we go. So what what happened right now is I've got YouTube playing on in my background and I can't figure out how to turn it off. That is the
Oh, okay.
weirdest thing.
Well, I can
So
show you the product that I'm working on now.
I
I've
do
got it
want to
right
see it.
here.
Yes, please.
This is it's a Love Baby Pod, it's called. It's a fun name. And it's basically a hotspot, a router hotspot. So wherever people are, they can access the internet, and that combines satellite, Wi-Fi, meshing, and 4G. So wherever the signal is the best, the AI that's built into this picks up the signal. So we have relationships with all the different Wi-Fi companies, and so they get like a little percentage of everything, of all the data that we collect. They get some of the money from that. So it's a win-win basically for the companies and for our company.
I like it.
Mhm.
I know, you know what, you and I've got so much in common, and I know that I'm really looking forward to like just diving in and talking a little bit about, the nonprofits, what you're doing, what you're looking at. And there also might be an opportunity here for us to talk to you a little bit about one of my projects. I've just started a fund. It's called it's an Opportunity Zone Fund. And this one is we've got a wireless company that I'd love to be able to talk to you about. So
Oh,
absolutely, that is awesome.
fantastic.
So one thing before we finish up, Paris, how is it to be able to work with your husband? Where you guys are working all the time together, but you're also
Mhm.
still got a relationship together. How is that?
One of the great things I think my husband has is humor. And I think that really helps a lot. That we have a little fun time in between everything. Like he cracks a joke and it just lightens the load, basically. I think that helps a lot. And then also that we do enjoy being together. Like we have a lot in common. We enjoy some of the similar things. And I think that helps a lot. And then we also are very motivated individuals. We're also very independent. So, and we like to make sure that we have flexibility in our lives. So I think it helps that we have the common goals that we have. To have the same kind of lifestyle helps a whole lot.
I think
Mhm.
that's awesome. That is awesome. That's a good. So, if you were going to tell somebody, like, give them some advice on how, as a woman, how can you break into the the tech space?
Yeah.
What would you say? What kind of advice would you do and give to them?
Sure. I mean, I think at this point, everybody's gotten some technology experience because, we're all on the computers and have our own devices and things like that. But if people want to delve deeper into being in the tech industry, I think it's good to take some classes online. There, especially if you want to do like coding and stuff, where you have to be certified or at least be knowledgeable in that. Um, One of the big industries that's really popular right now is project management, which I think
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
great for a lot of people to get into, and you do need some certifications for that as well. But there is a need for it. I don't think that AI will ever replace like project management because it's people focused.
Mhm.
Um, so the way I did it before is I basically just dove into the subjects I was interested in and got really knowledgeable in those terms and then met with people in that industry. So I think that's key too, is to be able to network
Mm.
and meet with people in the specific area that you're interested in.
I love that, and it's obviously, with women like you and I have always mentored people, always. I mean, that's part of what I do with Business in a Box. It's like mentoring is such an important part for me, and it's like,
Mhm.
I want to be able to help people, uplift them, to help bring them along. It's not competition by any means. It's like just to be able to like say, hey, how can I pave the way for somebody else? How can I do some of the things that I would have really loved when I was in that spot?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's
I mean,
awesome.
there's so many different aspects of technology. I do still think it's very male focused,
Oh
you
gosh,
know?
yeah.
And I used to do keynote speeches, and sometimes I'd walk in the room and people go, "Oh, what does she know?" I could just tell.
Yeah.
But if you know your stuff, you don't worry about it once you start talking, and
Oh,
then they realize, oh well, she is
yeah.
very knowledgeable.
Yeah, exactly. But no matter what we do, I think as women, we in some shape or form, it's always we've got something a little bit. It's just you know what I'm saying. Like, as far as not, we feel it, but it's like you've got it is still always different than if it was a man. Always,
Yeah,
women are. I find women are very we driven. I'm a we person.
yeah,
Women has a W in it. Men, nothing wrong with men. I'm just saying, but men
yeah.
are more me. They're more I driven. And
Hmm.
it's just so, and that's one of those things that I'm like, I try to be very understanding about. So yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, but you
But
know what? There's a lot of multitasking involved in
yes,
technology, so I think we're well equipped for it.
absolutely, absolutely. Actually, that's a really good point, which is maybe that's one of those things of like why women are so good because it's definitely up and coming. It's up and coming.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm
I
so
mean, there's
glad to
ways
hear
to
that.
be in technology and also be people focused. It doesn't
Yeah,
have to be you're on the computer like, all day long kind of thing.
yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Kyra, you have been amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And everybody, you know what it is. So same time, same place. And if you'd love to be a guest on my podcast, just hit me up in Messenger and we'll make it happen. So bye for now.